Hey YouTube, thanks for clicking on the video. Today we're going to be working on a 2014 Kia Sportage. So let's go ahead and start off by removing the wheel. I'm using a impact, but of course you could use, you know, your hands or other tool. I'm using a 3/16 to take them off. Alright, let's get them off. Got it on reverse. There's 1, 2, 3. Come on, get on there. And 5. Alright. Grab my gloves real quick to get the tire off. And like, there we go. The other side was kind of hard to get off too. Alright. So now we're at the brake. Alright, so here's the rotor and the pad, rotor and caliper. The customer, it's not the customer's complaint, it's the dealer's complaint, because this is a leased vehicle, that she needs new rotors and pads. And as you can tell there's a groove right here, and the other side the pads are really worn. She absolutely needs them. But the weird thing is that the front rotors and pads look in absolute immaculate condition. So I'm also going to be performing a caliper service and hoping that that will fix the issue. So before you begin ripping everything off, if you're working on, like this one is the first brake service this vehicle's had, be mindful of these two screws that hold the caliper on. I recommend going ahead and putting on some penetrant, because if you break these off or round out the Phillips head, you will not have a fun time getting the rotor off. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is remove the caliper. It's a 14mm socket. And that was weird because that was actually super easy. So I undid the top one first, but just leave it in there, and then do the bottom one. Otherwise, if you do the top one first, or if you do the bottom one, the top one first, and then try to get the bottom one out, the bottom one's gonna swing out on you. So we got 1 and 2. Put them in your magnetic bin. Take the caliper off. This one's pretty easy. I can actually compress the piston with my fingers. You're going to need to compress the piston to put the new rotor caliper on. I'm letting it sit on an arm that's on the knuckle. Alright, so now, which is really awesome, but first, take the old pads out. These are called pads. You want to take them out. Then the old hardware. The new pads come with the hardware that are identical. Take them out. There we go. Now remove the caliper bracket bolts. I might have to get a breaker bar for these two. These are, or this one. Or not. There we go. Loosen the top one, then go down to the bottom one. And take the bottom one all the way out. There we go. 1. These have washers on them. You don't want to lose those. They're locking washers. Don't lose them. They are different from the, even though they're 14mm, they are still different from the caliper bracket bolts. So there. Now the mount's off. Let's move you to the front. Alright, let's try this again since my camera wasn't recording. Before you take the rotor off, like I said, you got to remove these two screws. They can be pretty tough in there. I don't know what size Phillip I'm using. I just know that you want a bigger one, and then putting the penetrant on it before you take it off will make it quite a bit easier to get off. And you don't have to put them back in when you reinstall the rotor. These are actually just used at the factory. So yeah, so take them out. Alright, so now, as I've experienced with Hondas before, you can hear the emergency brake. And you'd think that, oh, let's grab a hammer real quick. There we go. That you could just, you know, pop it off, and you can't. So what we're gonna do is, down here there's a rubber stopper, and I'm gonna take it out. And this will give us access to the emergency brake adjuster. And what we're gonna wanna do, let me get you further down. There we go. Love this tripod. We're going to want to align the rotor up so we can see the adjuster. Alright, I can see it. And then we're going to want to adjust it so, or adjust the caliper in, and I was actually adjusting it out. So when you're adjusting it, and you feel the teeth, you're going to want to go up, and that will bring the emergency brake pads or shoes in, which then will stop applying pressure to the outside or the inside of the rotor, so that you can simply just pull the rotor off. And you know what, I'm probably still doing it wrong, so let's try down. And it might be tough to actually turn it, but because there's actually a spring that almost like sits in the teeth. Alright, let's see. I can never tell. Alright, so there. I guess it is down. Yeah, it's definitely in the downward motion on the gear of the adjuster. And I'm going to actually readjust the emergency brake when I put it back on. Alright, so there we go. It's off. So this is a good chance to look at your emergency brake pads and make sure everything's in good working order. This vehicle only has, I think, 20,000 miles on it, so they're fine. But I'm going to put some anti-seize on the outside ring of the bearing so that the rotor never sticks to the bearing, because that's annoying when it does. Try not to get it on the threads of your wheel studs, because then that'll make it not impossible to fully torque your studs down, but you can end up torquing them down too much. So there we go. So now we're ready for the new rotor. What you want to do is line up the holes on the rotor. So there's the wheel stud holes there, and then the holes for the screws. You want to line them up with your wheel stud and a hole for the screw. Like I said again, you don't have to put the screws back in, but I am choosing to. The best thing to do if you plan on doing that, take some anti-seize and put some on the threads of the screw. That way they're less likely to get really stuck in there. But you don't have to. Oops, I dropped it. But you do not have to put them in. that's up to you. Alright, let me clean the anti-seize off my hands, because anti-seize gets on everything, and unscrew them in. I like these. I had the customer get these rotors because the non-mating surfaces with the pads are painted black, so it's less likely to get rusty. So it'll look good, you know. Once your car's looking good, right? All right. So before we put the rubber back in, we're gonna go ahead and turn the rotor down to where the adjuster is. I put a flathead in, find the adjuster, and I'm pretty sure it's up. If it's not, we'll find which direction it goes in, and I'm sure in the comment sections someone will correct me. There we go. And we're trying to adjust them out enough to where they just rub on the outside, sorry, the inside of the rotor. Keep it going. I'm still not getting anything, eh? Or the teeth. In fact, I actually don't think I'm even hitting any teeth. I can't be, because you'd actually hear a spring. No, I'm not. You'd actually hear a spring being moved if you were hitting it. There we go. So now I'm hitting it. And then you turn it, see if you hear any noise, and there's slight noise and slight drag. And I think probably one more click up of the adjuster. That. And I'm happy with that amount of drag. Now, take your rubber and push it back, push it into the hole. You really, really want to make sure that you put this in there, because if you don't, you can actually get water and stuff inside your emergency brake. And with what I've seen with other Hyundais and Kias, they're the exact same car, it'll destroy everything. Alright, so now let's hit the caliper. Alright, so I'm hoping that everything's in good focus, but anyways, we're gonna grab some anti-seize, and we're gonna put anti-seize on the mating surface of the bracket. This way there's no squeaking and hopefully no rust buildup, which they did not do at the factory, which most manufacturers don't do. Just some anti-seize there, and there, and there. And I cleaned it off, cleaned off the mating surfaces first with whatever rust was there. You want to do that as well. Alright, set it down for a second, and then we want to grab the new shims. You want to make sure before you throw out your old ones that the new ones are the same, because if they're not, you're going to have to reuse the old ones. So basically, they only go on one way. You should almost hear a click when you put them in. And these ones are a little tough, but they do go in. But a tight fit doesn't hurt anybody. Tight fit's good. Oops, dropped it. And same thing on the other side. Go ahead and push those in. And that's all. I'm going to go ahead. I already took the push pins out. I'm going to clean them up and put them back in. The important thing, though, is there's one that has a black rubber ring on it, or it's really like a dampener bushing. That one goes on the bottom of the caliper. Alright, so first, take your caliper bracket, and remember the 14mm bolts with the locking washer on it. Those are the ones you want to use. go. Take your 14mm socket wrench, or 14mm socket with a wrench. Go ahead and tighten it on. There's the top one. Move down to the bottom one. Alright, so now grab your rotor, turn it, make sure that like the shims aren't rubbing up against the rotor. Now, you take your new pads and this is the other new one. The one with the indicator. This is the indicator. You know what? I never make sure that you guys are in focus back there. Yep, you guys are in focus. The one with the indicator end. First, I'm going to put some NICs on the mating parts of the pad. That way there's no squeaking and it has more free movement. Okay, so the mating surface needs to be on the trailing end of the caliper mount. So when you're moving forward, this is the trailing end because the pad is hitting the rotor seating this part first. So it should slide right in. Let's get in here and take a look. There we go. Sliding it in evenly also helps. And the actual shims almost guide it in. You don't want to do too much forcing. There should be no need to force it. There we go, it's in. And if it won't go in at all, don't take the shims out. There's a chance that it's the wrong pad, because you shouldn't have to cut the tabs off or modify anything at all. Then take the one for the front, which has no indicator. Again, make sure that you're not getting any anti-seize on the pad or the rotor. And you can't see this because it's on the front side, but it's basically the exact same thing of getting it in. And then push it, push, push. Come on, go in. It's funny how I was just saying don't force it in. And I almost said force it in. Getting a little misaligned as I'm trying to put it in. That's the issue. Start down here. That's good. Push it down. And that tab. You get one at the top in and the bottom doesn't want to go in. But like making it so they go in top and bottom at the same time is the easiest way to get them in. If you start one side for the top first or the bottom first, it tends to be a little bit difficult. Making sure that the shims are pushed down all the way. So there's, I found the issue. The shim isn't far enough back and is making it so it can't go in. So I just bent it back a little bit. Get in there. Get in there. Looks like the bottom one's doing that too, so I'm gonna get in here and try and push the bracket back a little bit, or bend it back. They're not always OEM the aftermarket stuff. There we go. There's the bottom. We're gonna cut this because I'm tired of you guys watching me struggle. Alright, so that was my fault actually. You have to like angle it and then put it in. Then it'll go in. Okay. So now take your caliper. Go ahead and put it over everything. Remember in the beginning I compressed it with my hands. There goes one. And there goes the other one. It's a 14 millimeter. Alright, grab your wrench. Das ist gut. And that is good. So now what you want to do is turn the vehicle on and lots of ums today, aren't I? Sorry about that. You want to there goes another one. You want to turn the vehicle on and press the brake to get everything mated up. And then make sure axles turn. And there, we're all done. Now, let's keep you guys back there and put the wheel on. See how cool that looks. Okay. Alright. Let's go ahead and grab our lug nuts and our impact gun. And we go forward. I will be torquing this down to spec. Don't feel like showing, so I'm not going to. I'm going to turn this down a bit. A little too much force behind it. Star formation when putting it on. There we go. There we go. Next one. There's another one. Another one. And the last one. Alright, so that's how you do rotors and pads on a 2014 Kia Sportage. And I think there's goes along with a Hyundai as well. If you have any questions, as always, you guys know, go ahead and ask them. I try to answer and reply to every comment and question. If you haven't subscribed yet, you might want to think about hitting that subscribe video. I try to do videos every Monday, depending on my workflow. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.